All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 27 of Bet the Over. In this episode, I'm mostly going to talk about the Giants because we don't have our co host Steve. However, I will talk about mostly the Giants season, how it went down, overview of everything, how I feel about the offense, defense, and management going into the postseason. I'll also be talking about a little bit of the playoff schedule. So we got some playoff football. It's going to be exciting. Going to throw probably some bets in. Let me pull up the NFL playoff schedule right now. And I'm your co host, Kevin. So let's get into it. So, overall, if I had to rate the Giants season, I'd give it like a 2 out of 10. Solid 2. Didn't go as planned. I predicted they would have 6 wins by the end of the season, so I didn't necessarily think they would be this playoff team, this contender, Super Bowl. However, I did think they would be a little bit better. Going into the season, the biggest concern was obviously the quarterback, Daniel Jones. He was always the concern for the team. He was a question going into every single season for his starting career on the Giants. And as we know, it ended up not being a very good contract and situation with Daniel Jones. He's currently not on the team. He's actually on the Minnesota Vikings. So he just got moved up as well. So you might see him on the bench on the sidelines over there for Minnesota. So yeah, so that was kind of a wasted contract. Offensively, they had the 2 standout rookies were good, Malik Neighbors, obviously, and Tyrone Tracy. They were about the only promising thing for this team this entire season, and maybe you could go on the other side of the ball and the other rookie, Drew Phillips. He was also a decent rookie, but other than that, the offense didn't look too hot with or without Daniel Jones or Drew Lock or DeVito. They typically struggled to score points. Their offensive line started out well first couple weeks of the season, but obviously, as we know, Andrew Thomas went down with the injury. He is truly the key to the offensive line because he's been injured past couple seasons, and as soon as he goes down, the whole entire offensive line PFF grades drop significantly. So it might not be crazy to say that he is the most important person on the offense. I know Malik is amazing. Tyrone Tracy obviously played well, and the quarterback would be the most important person. However, the Giants don't have one right now. They have Drew Lock, who is a free agent after this year, so he might not even get re-signed. I think DeVito is also a free agent, so they currently don't have a quarterback. And we'll get into the defense. So defensively, they were definitely underwhelming. I know going into the year, I said the secondary would struggle, which they did mightily. Deonte Banks didn't step up. It's looking like he's not going to be the true corner one we were hoping to draft last year's draft. The safety, Tyler Newman, the rookie, he was all right. He was decent for a rookie. There's some promise there. And the only good corner we really had the entire season was the rookie corner, Drew Phillips, but he's more of a slot guy. He's not really an outside boundary guy. So we obviously need a true outside corner one. The pass rush was pretty good earlier on in the season. I know Dexter Lawrence was up there for the sack. He was leading the sack record for the season for a little bit, or he was at least within the top 3 before he got injured. So he was doing well. Brian Burns, he was slightly underwhelming. I expected a little more impact out of him. I feel that some games he's impactful, and then other games he's kind of disappears. And that also goes for Kayvon Thibodeau. Kayvon's he's a tough analysis because some games he feasts and some games you don't even hear his name once. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with him once in a couple of years, once his rookie contract expires. I think he's a good player. However, they took him with the 7th overall pick, so you expect him to be great. or he might have been the 5th, but either one, he was within the top 10. You're expecting someone to be a true impact player, come in each week and make a difference. However, Kayvon, he's been all right. And then, I mean, we can't really talk about the special teams. The only other aspect, I guess, of the team we could talk about is the management. So 2 days ago, on January 6th, John Mara announced that the Giants would retain Joe Schoen, the general manager, and Brian Daboll, the head coach. Personally, I don't know. I feel that Mara might have made a mistake and he probably should have let them go, because I feel that Daboll has lost the locker room. We had a couple instances where it seemed like Malik was out of it. He's our star player on offense. I think back to the one game where Malik wasn't throwing the ball until the second half when they were losing by 30 points to the Buccaneers. And they asked him, Malik, what happened? Why weren't they throwing you the ball in the first half? And he just said, I don't know. Go ask Daboll. So that right there, as soon as I saw that interview, I felt that Brian Daboll kind of lost the locker room. I mean, the team, other than Malik, it seemed like was just upset in general. Once Daniel Jones was released by the team, there was a couple instances where players seemed frustrated and kind of. There was one interview where Darius Slayton was slamming the wall in the background. You heard him slamming it during the Daboll interview. And Joe Schoen, he's definitely hated by most Giants fans. I get it. I do understand. His first 2 drafts of his general manager career, he flopped for the most part. We go back. We have Kayvon. He's all right. He's a good player, not great. Evan Neal's a big bust, horrible. He's been god awful this entire year, last year, and his rookie year. And then you go back to last year, they drafted Deonte Banks in the first round. He also looks like a flop. But on the same time, I guess you got to give Joe Schoen credit. If you're going to really cut into him, you got to give him credit for what he did this year. His first 3-round picks were pretty good in Malik, Tracy. No, I think Tracy was even later. It was Malik, Tyler Nubin, and Drew Phillips the first 3 rounds, and those 3 guys have made a pretty good impact this season as a rookie. He also took Theo Johnson. He was all right throughout the year. Kind of wanted more out of him. However, he was a raw prospect. He's fast and he has a lot of potential, so I'd like to see how he'd end up. But the first 3 rounds this year, Schoen did nail it. I will give him that. However, I still I think they should have been fired. But I said if you fire one, you got to fire both, or if you keep one, you got to keep both. So Mara decided to keep them. We just got to roll with it. We got to hope that Schoen is going to guide the team into the future and build a solid foundation. And I'm hoping he can really turn this thing around, because it's been a shit show for the past, I'd say, 8 out of 9 years, maybe even more. You could go back to ever since 2011, the team really hasn't been very good, besides 2 years ago. And then, so another way to turn it around is obviously through the draft and free agency. So right now, I'm looking at the best free agents the Giants could pick up. So I would start by truly finishing this offensive line. The Giants have had a problem with the offensive line for the past 7 years, at least. So I would start by looking at the guard positions. That's their true need. I know I'm pretty sure Illuminor has 1 more year left on the contract. So we got to look out for that. Freezing over here. So Illuminor has that. And then you have Andrew Thomas. You have him locked up for a decent amount of time. The one guard prospect I truly do think the Giants should look into is potentially you could look at, I know the right guard on the Chiefs. I think it's Trey Smith, guard on Chiefs. He's one prospect that could be interesting. I know a lot of people are looking for a wide receiver to pair with Malik. It's Trey Smith. That's the guard for the Kansas City Chief. He's the right guard. He's gonna be a free agent. He's one of the highest he has the highest interest of most teams. He's the highest, I guess, need or value offensive lineman coming out in this free agency class. So if the Giants really want to go get him, they're gonna have to pay a hefty price for him, which I mean I'm in favor of because I just feel like the offensive line has not been good the past 7-8 years. So you just got to build it once and for all. Sign whoever you got to sign to keep this unit together and build continuity. They got the tackles if Illuminor and Neal stay for a long period of time. They have John Michael Schmitz. He's been in like an average center this year. So I guess if he continues to develop, it's only a second season. He can keep going. You really just need one more guard. You have Runyon at left guard. So if you end up signing Trey Smith, he could slide into the right guard position, and that would be your starting five. And honestly, that's not a bad starting five. I'd say they're probably slightly above average, which is what you're shooting for at this point, because the Giants the past 5 years have been bottom half of the league. I remember 30th, 31st, probably even 32nd. So you got to fix that once and for all. A couple free agent wide receivers, I mean, they could potentially look into. They could look into T. Higgins. He's going to demand a massive contract, and you really don't even know if he's going to truly leave the Bengals as of right now, January 8th, 2025. It's stated that Burrow said he's a once-in-a-lifetime wide receiver and guy in general, so it's not someone they want to obviously lose. So we got to see what happens with Cincinnati. I could see Burrow taking a pay cut to keep T. Higgins on the team. It's obviously up to T if he wants to go from the more financially beneficial route and sign with another team, or if he wants to stay with the Bengals and be on a contender. So he's a big one. Another guy that's a free agent is Stephon Diggs. He's a little bit older, and he's coming off a torn ACL, so he's a bit of a higher risk wide receiver. However, since he is injured, you might be able to get him for a little bit of better of a price. He's someone I would be interested in. I don't think I would want to sign T. Higgins for the large contract he's going to demand. And also T. Higgins he's not the most versatile guy. He's been hurt a lot. He always has nagging hamstring injuries that keeps him out like 3-4 weeks, even this year. Stephon Diggs, he's usually pretty durable. I know this year he tore his ACL. He is older, but he's a nice veteran wide receiver, and he showed on the Texans he still got it. The other guy you could look into is Godwin. He's, of course, another wide receiver coming off an injury. He's a bit older as well. I think he's late 20s, so he could stack well with Malik, but he is coming off an injury, so there's another risk in that as well. And then the other free agents I want to look at is the quarterback position, because as I stated before, the Giants don't have a quarterback. They currently have, I don't even know. Daniel Jones is gone. Drew Lock is a free agent, and so is DeVito. So we got to look up free agent quarterbacks 2025. So I know Sam Darnold's the biggest name. He's been lighting it up with the Vikings this year. The last game he played against the Lions was for the first seed in the NFC conference, and he kind of flopped. So it's going to be interesting to see. The playoffs is going to heavily influence how much money he makes. If Darnold lights it up in the playoffs and Minnesota wins a game, I could see him getting a massive contract. If he goes into this next playoff game and flops, his value will be diminished significantly, in my opinion. The other quarterbacks that look like they're free agents, Zach Wilson. Bring Zach back to New York. I know Steve's going to like that if he watches this video. I'm not really interested in Zach Wilson. maybe you bring him in, bridge quarterback, but you can't really sell me on that one. Trey Lance, he's on Dallas. He's a free agent as well. He seems inaccurate. He's a very good mobile quarterback, but I don't think that's the way the Giants should really go. You have Jacoby Brissett. He could potentially be someone I'm interested in. It comes down to what the Giants' plan is in for the draft. If the Giants believe, the draft is kind of weird because the Giants are at the pick 3 now because they decided to win that one game against the Colts. So they're in a weird spot because the Browns and Titans are ahead of them and they might both take quarterbacks. So at that point, you have to sign one of these free agent quarterbacks. I think the Giants should sign a veteran just in case they don't get one of those two. So I'm thinking more of a bridge quarterback. If you don't sign one this year, you obviously have to go all in next year and get a good one. But Jacoby Brissett's a guy I'd probably be interested in looking in. He's not obviously fantastic. He's a bridge quarterback, but he'll lock down the quarterback position for a year. He could even train the new guy if they do end up drafting a quarterback as well this year. I'm leaning more towards Cam Ward in that situation because Jacoby can train him. He's a veteran. He's been around. And Cam Ward's more of the raw prospect. Shedeur is more of the polished NFL-ready guy. So if Cam Ward drops and you have Jacoby Brissett, I think that might be a good option. Have him sit a year, learn, and process, get up to NFL speed. Cam Ward has the higher upside, so it's more of the boomer bust prospect, in my opinion. You could either strike gold and get a big arm mobile quarterback, or you can go safer with Shedeur, who's going to be more of a game manager, in my opinion. I still think Shedeur might be good. However, I'm not in love with either of these prospects. So if the Giants do end up passing on a quarterback, I know a lot of people would be upset about that. But if you don't like the quarterbacks, which I personally don't, maybe it's best to wait a year. I know it'd be misery watching this team struggle again next season, especially after their schedule just released, where they have a brutal schedule. They obviously play the Eagles twice, Washington twice, now Dallas twice. So just right there, maybe they'll win one of those games if they're lucky too, and then they play. They play the AFC West, which is kind of a tough division because you have the Chargers, who are good in the playoffs right now. You have the Broncos, who are in the playoffs right now as well, and you have the Chiefs, who obviously lost 2 games this year. One of those games was this previous week where they rested all their starters. So right there, that's another 3 L's. Next season might be brutal. It really might be brutal. So I'm really looking to sign a veteran, maybe bring back Drew Lock for another year or 2 years. And the Giants are truly in a weird spot because you don't even know if the quarterbacks are going to be there. If they're not there, you'd probably go best player available. You probably take Travis Hunter, Heisman winner. You're potentially getting a good corner that could play wide receiver. Giants need a lockdown corner, number 1. And Travis Hunter was very good in college at corner. I know a lot of NFL prospects are saying that he's probably going to mainly play corner and he might sneak in for a couple wide receiver reps here and there. That would be a fun duo to watch in training camp. I'm not going to lie. If Malik played against Travis Hunter and it was an iron sharpens iron situation, that's an overused analogy. But if that happens and they both improve each other, you'll have a solid wide receiver corner duo in Malik and Travis Hunter. So I wouldn't mind that very much at all. I know they're mostly looking corner at this point, the Giants. It'll be interesting to see. We'll obviously have more clarity once free agency finishes and everything. I know Kirk Cousins was also a name that was out there, which I wouldn't personally mind. I think Kirk, he didn't play well this past year, but I think he's a solid quarterback. And if you're doing the teach your younger quarterback, your rookie quarterback, teach him the ropes and everything, I think Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback out of any of them to do that. They'll pull the what the Atlanta Falcons did and maybe swap out the rookie halfway through the season, or have Kirk stick it out for a year and then start the rookie next year. So that's mostly what I'm going to talk about with the free agency and draft. Right now, the Giants' biggest positional needs are corner, like I said, quarterback as well. Guard's a big need. They need another safety. Their linebackers are all right. They have Okereke and McFadden. Their defensive line is pretty good. They might need another defensive tackle to pair with Dexter Lawrence, but they have the two edges. I know Burns and Kayvon were underwhelming, but once Dexter Lawrence comes back, he does free up them to get one-on-ones a lot more. So their D-line is pretty good. Truly, it's just, I don't know. You just got to take best player available at this point because they have a decent amount of holes there. And if they take the quarterback, they got to develop him properly, or else the Giants are in another 5-year hole of misery and pain. And I can't bear to watch this team struggle and lose anymore. I can only do it one more season. If they tank next year and they're horrible next season, they better be getting a stud at quarterback. Archie Manning, bring him back. The Manning legacy continues in New York. So now we got that out of the way. We got the coaching, we got the GM, we got the free agents, and the rookie class coming up. So now I think we'll get into the playoff football. So I'm excited. I really am. It's time to start slamming bets again. All the fans of the channel, bet the over. We're going to go crazy this season. Maybe I'll post a couple Instagram reels or TikToks throwing in some bets. I'm not a big bettor, but when playoff football comes, I kind of like to spike the interest of some of these games. So it looks like the first game of the 2025 NFL playoffs is Chargers at Texans. Chargers at Texans. I think that one might be a decent game. It's obviously two good quarterbacks going up against each other in what's his name? Justin Herbert and CJ Stroud. I'm blanking on names right now. The Texans have kind of been struggling lately, so I think the Chargers might end up winning that game. A lot of people are saying it's going to be a blowout. I don't think that's true. I know Stroud is kind of in a sophomore slump, but he's also lost a lot of wide receivers. Like Nico Collins was out for a while. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL, so he's out too. And now Tank Dell's out. Tank Dell might miss the entire next season as well, which sucks because I love Tank Dell. He was such a fun player to watch. So CJ Stroud's kind of at a lack for weapons. Herbert he's got Ladd McConkey, who's actually been a great rookie wide receiver. I did think he was going to be pretty good. However, I didn't expect him to play as well as he has so far this season. However, I do think the Chargers will end up winning this game, even though they're away. The second game we got on board for the wild card round is Steelers at Ravens, a nice divisional matchup. Steelers are on a 5-game losing streak. So Russ has not been cooking. He's been cooking the fish and the ice cream, or the hot dogs in the cereal bowl. That's how he's been cooking. Some people are speculating that Fields might come in. That would be a crazy play by Mike Tomlin. The Steelers are doing their classic first round exit. That's coming. I love Baltimore, honestly. I know Zay Flowers might be out this game, which is an interesting story. So Henry might get a big workload, but Lamar has been going nuts every game this season. I think Lamar should win the MVP. I know Josh Allen has been good, but Lamar's stats are unmatched. Even Burrow's stats are pretty good. But if it was between Josh Allen and Lamar, I do think Lamar should win MVP. And I think the Ravens will win this game pretty easily. You never know, though. Playoff football, different aura or different setting, environment. Baltimore is also home, so they got the advantage there. The next game, so those two are Saturday night. We got Saturday football now. And then we got Sunday, the afternoon game. We got Broncos Bills. That's going to be a fun game. I'm a Bills fan. I'm from New York. That's probably going to be cold. Oh my God, Buffalo is going to be freezing. It's probably going to be a snow game as well because it's supposed to snow over here on Saturday. But I truly think Denver was a surprising team this year. I did not expect them to do as well as they did. They did make the playoffs, but I think their season will come to an end to the Buffalo Bills. I love Josh Allen. He's been a stud. He's obviously him and Lamar, the two MVP candidates. Like I said before, I think Lamar should win it, but Josh Allen has been nothing short of amazing. Even Tom Brady himself has said Lamar and Josh Allen are two. They're doing something that hasn't been done in a very long time. They've been lighting the league on fire. And Josh Allen truly doesn't have that good of weapons. So I understand the argument for the weapons on Josh Allen. He has Keon Coleman. He's got Dawson Knox, Kincaid. But other than that, who else do they have? He's got James Cook. He's a good weapon out of the backfield. Yeah, he really doesn't have too many good wide receivers. Get him a WR1, and Josh Allen will cakewalk to the MVP. So I'm taking Bills there. And then we got Packers at Eagles. Oof, I want the Packers to win so bad. Not an Eagles fan. However, Green Bay I don't know. They just don't do it for me this year. They always find a way to play well, but if I was the Eagles, I wouldn't be scared to play them, especially Philly being at home. I overall just think Philadelphia is so much better of a team. I mean, they got Jalen Hurts is better than Love, in my opinion. They got Saquon, they got AJ Brown, they got Devontae Smith, they got Goddard. Their whole team is so stacked with the best offensive line in the league, and their defense has been playing well. They got the two corners in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and their secondary got revamped pretty fast. Their defensive line is decent, mostly Georgia players, and Jalen Carter. I think Nolan Smith was Georgia. But yeah, the Eagles are studs. Unfortunately, I do think they're going to win this game. I'd rather see them lose, honestly. Next game, we got Washington at Bucks. Honestly, this one might be the game of the week. I love both these teams. I'm a Giants fan, and I'm cheering for the Commanders. I feel like they've been struggling for years now, and I'm a Jaden Daniels fan. I like what they've done. They've flipped the team around so fast. I did not expect them to play this well. And on the other hand, you got Tampa Bay. I'm a Mayfield fan. I'm a Mike Evans fan. I was happy he got that 1,000 yards. So I think this is going to be the matchup of the week, in my opinion. We got Sunday night, 8:00, primetime game right there. Who should I choose? Washington at Bucks. Oh, this is a close game. This really is. I'll give the slight edge to the Buccaneers because they are at home, and I think Washington's defense is pretty bad. The Buccaneers' defense is all right, but I don't know. Jaden Daniels' first playoff game, he might get a little rattled. They're going to get good weather, though, so they are in Tampa, so at least they'll have some warm, nice weather. I'll give it to the Bucks, though. I just think Baker's been here. The Bucks went pretty far last year in the playoffs. Mike Evans has been here. He's a Super Bowl champion. He wants it. Bucky Irving's been a surprising rookie running back who's been very well. A lot of people have those meme pages where it's Bucky Irving's best fan or favorite Bucky Irving fan club. That's what it is. My sweet prince, Bucky Irving. And then, yes, I'll take Tampa Bay in that. And the last game of this first week of the NFL playoffs, we got Vikings at Rams. This past week, the Vikings played the Lions, and they kind of got exposed. I'm not going to lie. Raised a lot of questions about Darnold and this team. Man, Minnesota might be a one and done like 2 years ago when the Giants knocked them off, honestly. I'm a Rams guy. I like Stafford. I like Puka. I like Kupp, but I also love Jefferson. Darnold's a good fairy tale story. Vikings are at Rams. Oof, this is a tough one too. I'm gonna take the Rams though. The Vikings kind of make me unsure of what they're truly about after last week, and it's got to be Darnold's first playoff game. There's no way he went on the Jets, so he might get a little nervous as well. But overall, I do like these playoffs. I like most of the teams in it. Realistically, the only teams I don't want to see win is the Chiefs and the Eagles. So that's going to be interesting. I would love to see either the Bills, the Lions, I like the Ravens, or even the Vikings to go far, even the Buccaneers. I think these playoffs are going to be good. A lot of these teams are they're fun teams to watch, and it's going to be interesting to watch. We'll throw in some bets. Comment down below who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. Earlier in the season, we had a surprise guest, Doug, on the stream. He predicted the Jaguars and the Lions to win the Super Bowl. So maybe he'll go 1 for 2 because the Jags definitely that was an interesting pick. That is for sure. But that about wraps up for this episode. We got an exciting week coming up. We love January football. And comment down below any other predictions, bold predictions, bets you got going on. And that about does it, boys and girls. Remember, bet the over. Thanks for tuning in.